Smoke still drifted above the darkened moon, curling in slow, lazy waves as if the world itself was mourning. The dragon's nest had been gone for centuries, yet the memory of flames lingered in every shadow, in every rock scarred by fire. Across the galaxy, everyone whispered the same thing: the hatchlings were lost. Gone forever. Nothing remained. Most of the galaxy believed the dragon race was fading. They thought dragons were too proud to accept help and too stubborn to survive their own mistakes. But on this forgotten moon, in the silence left after the flames, one human arrived. Her name was Alara. She was small, lean, and had a way of moving that made her almost invisible. She was not a warrior, not a hero, and she did not have the power of the great races. She carried only a pack of supplies, a small scanner, and the stubborn curiosity that humans were famous for. Where others would see a barren world, she saw a mystery. The heat readings had led her here. Tiny flickers of warmth beneath the surface, almost like a heartbeat. She frowned as she walked over cracked stone and ash. Most of the world's sensors had written this moon off as dead. Most humans had no reason to come here. But she could not ignore the pulse. Alara knelt by a fissure in the ground. She pressed a gloved hand against the stone and felt something unusual. There was warmth. Something beneath the rocks was breathing. She froze, not from fear but from realization. Dragons were thought to be invincible, yet here the evidence said one still lived. One had survived. The stories of the fire were everywhere. The elders had told them in the dragon councils. A rogue comet had struck the nesting site centuries ago. The fires had raged for weeks. Smoke had blackened the skies for days. And when it cleared, the hatchlings were gone. Humans had always assumed the dragons were extinct. Even the dragons themselves whispered of shame and failure. But Alara had discovered the impossible: survival. She had to be careful. Dragons were not like any other creature. They remembered faces and they remembered betrayal. She knew that if she moved too fast, spoke too loudly, or even breathed wrong, she could be burned. And yet, the warmth drew her closer. Her scanner beeped softly, confirming her suspicion. Something large moved beneath the cave's floor. It was alive. And it was waiting. Alara set down her pack slowly and dug out a small flashlight. Its beam cut through the smoke and dust in the fissure. The light revealed scales that shimmered faintly, bronze and gold, dulled by soot and ash. The dragon's eye opened, massive and cautious. It stared at her. Fear, pain, and distrust reflected in its gaze. For a heartbeat, the world was silent except for the slow, measured breath of the ancient creature. The human did not flinch. She sat on her heels, keeping her movements small and calm. She whispered softly, in the language she had learned from old texts and rare encounters. "I am not here to hurt you." The dragon's nostrils flared. Smoke and the smell of ash drifted into the cave. Its wings twitched beneath the rubble. It had not expected anyone, certainly not a human. Most humans would have left at the first sign of danger. Most humans feared dragons more than they feared death itself. But not Alara. She stayed. Hours passed. She offered water in a bowl she fashioned from her pack supplies. The dragon sniffed, hesitant, and finally lapped it with care. Slowly the creature began to relax. It did not roar or strike. It did not try to flee. It simply watched her, with eyes that had seen centuries of loss and perhaps, just perhaps, began to hope. Outside the cave, the wind howled through jagged rocks. Smoke rose from deeper fissures. Alara ignored it. She had work to do. She reinforced weak stone walls with pieces of metal from her pack. She moved debris carefully, making paths and small spaces where the dragon could shift without crushing itself. She spoke to it in quiet tones, telling it she would stay until help arrived, though she had no plan of what that help would be. Night fell. The stars were faint, hidden behind lingering ash. Alara lay down on the hard ground near the dragon. She did not sleep, not really. She listened to the rise and fall of its breathing. She imagined the hatchlings, tiny and scared, somewhere across the system, surviving against all odds. She wondered if they still remembered their mother's scent, her warmth, her voice. Dragons had a long memory. They did not forgive easily and they did not forget. But humans had something else: stubborn courage. And for the first time in generations, the dragon felt something unfamiliar. It felt trust. Alara whispered again, softer now, almost like a lullaby. "You survived. That is all that matters for now. We will find the rest. I promise." The dragon's chest rose and fell steadily. Its gaze softened slightly, not fully but enough for her to see. A bond had begun, small and fragile, like a spark that could ignite a new fire. The world outside might have believed everything lost. The dragon councils might have mourned forever. But here, in the silence after the flames, something alive had been found. Something worth saving. Ilara stared at the massive creature, at the scales dulled by soot, at the eyes that had seen centuries of despair. She smiled faintly. This was just the beginning. The universe had written them off. Everyone had thought the hatchlings were gone forever. But she knew better. Somewhere in the stars the story was not finished. Somewhere hope still burned. And for the first time the dragon blinked slowly. It was not fear this time. It was recognition. Ilara did not sleep that night. She stayed near the dragon, listening to the soft rumble of its breathing and the faint crackle of smoke settling over the ruins. The moon above was hidden, but a few stars shone faintly, distant and cold. Most humans would have run long ago, seeing a creature so large and ancient, its eyes full of both pain and power. But Ilara could not leave. She did not know why, only that something inside told her to stay. The dragon shifted slowly, testing the small space she had cleared. Its movements were cautious. It had survived alone for too long to trust easily. But she remained calm, speaking in quiet tones and making no sudden gestures. She remembered everything she had read about dragons. They remembered kindness even when it came from strangers, and they punished cruelty without hesitation. "You are hurt," she whispered, reaching into her pack to take out a small medical kit. The dragon's eye followed her every move. Its tail twitched slightly, brushing against the rocks. It was wary, not hostile, but every movement told her it had survived far too long on its own to trust anything too quickly. Slowly, carefully she approached, offering a bandage and a clean water container. The dragon sniffed the air, wary, and then, with a sound like a soft hiss, accepted the water. She watched its massive head lower, the sharp scales softened by ash and dirt. Every gesture was a test, and every acceptance a small victory. Hours passed. She cleaned its wounds where she could, using her hands gently. The dragon did not roar or strike. Instead, it watched her, its massive eyes following every movement. She spoke softly all the time, telling it who she was, where she had come from, and that she meant no harm. "I will not leave," she said again, almost to herself. "I am not here to fight. I am here to help. You are not alone." The dragon shifted slightly, allowing her to move closer. She placed her hand on a massive shoulder, feeling the heat beneath its scales. It was alive, strong, and yet it had suffered. She could see the scars, old and new, and the weariness in its gaze. It was a mother. She felt it in her bones, in the way it carried itself, in the protective tension around every movement. Somewhere, hidden among the stars, her hatchlings were waiting. Ilara could not stop thinking about them. Small, frightened, scattered across the galaxy, maybe hiding, maybe starving. She had read the old dragon records, but nothing had prepared her for this moment, the living proof of survival breathing right before her. The dragons had assumed the hatchlings were gone forever, but she did not. She could feel hope, fragile and small, growing between them. She spent the night talking to the dragon, telling stories of the stars, of the world she had visited, of humans who had survived against impossible odds. She did not know if the dragon understood the words, but it listened. And listening was the first step toward trust. When dawn finally broke, the first weak light filtered into the cave. Ilara could see the dragon more clearly now. Its scales were bright bronze and gold, dulled by ash and soot, but the beauty of its form was undeniable. Its wings, folded against its sides, were massive and scarred, but they were strong. Its eyes followed her every move, curious, cautious, and something else she could not name. Recognition, perhaps. Ilara decided she could not wait for anyone else to find it. She had come alone, and she would have to protect this dragon alone, at least for now. She began clearing a wider space around it, using her tools to reinforce the cave walls, to make a safe area. Every small rock she moved, every weak stone she supported, was a message. She was not a threat. She was here to stay. The dragon watched her, its massive head turning slowly, but it did not attack. She spoke to it again, softly, repeating her promise. "You survived. That is what matters. I will help you. I will protect you." By mid-morning the dragon was calmer. It allowed her to approach more closely, and she could see its face clearly. Its eyes were deep pools of amber, filled with wisdom and sorrow. She could feel the weight of centuries in its gaze, the loneliness of being the last of its kind, or so the galaxy believed. Ilara knelt beside it, offering more water and small rations she had brought. The dragon accepted them without hesitation this time. It leaned slightly against her, a gesture of trust so small that it could have been missed. But she noticed it. She smiled quietly, not wanting to startle it. She thought of the hatchlings again. Somewhere out there they were alive and they would need their mother. She did not know how to find them yet, but she knew one thing. This dragon had survived because of her presence. She had not run, not even when it would have been easy, not even when fear told her to flee. And now, that courage was the first step toward something greater. The dragon made a soft, low sound, a rumble that felt almost like a sigh. Elara leaned closer, understanding that this was not just communication. It was the first acknowledgement of hope. For centuries it had expected death and loneliness. Now it had something else, a human who did not run. Elara stayed with the dragon for hours, tending to it, talking to it, and simply being there. She understood that the bond forming between them was delicate, like a thread stretched across the galaxy. If broken, the dragon might retreat forever. But if nurtured, it could change everything. By the time the second night fell, the dragon had shifted slightly closer, allowing her to sit at its side. She felt the warmth of its body, the steady rise and fall of its chest. It was alive. It had survived. And somewhere out there, the hatchlings were waiting for their mother, and she would help them all find each other again. Elara whispered one last time that night, her voice soft and steady. "You are not alone. I will not leave. Together we will find them." And the dragon, ancient and proud, did not move away. For the first time in what felt like forever, it trusted a human. Elara woke to the low rumble of the dragon shifting beside her. The cave was quieter than usual, the smoke thinner, the air warmer. She had slept little, but something had changed overnight. The dragon, once tense and guarded, now allowed her to move more freely. Its eyes followed her, curious, almost expectant. She thought again of the hatchlings. The galaxy had assumed they were gone, lost forever in the fire. Every record, every report, every historian had written them off. Even the dragons themselves had mourned and moved on, or so everyone believed. But Elara had seen what others could not. Their mother was alive. That meant the hatchlings might still exist. Elara spent the morning exploring the hidden spaces beneath the ruins. She wanted to understand how the dragon had survived, how it had avoided detection, and what had happened to its young. As she worked, the dragon followed silently, careful but relaxed, trusting her presence more than ever. She found old carvings on the walls, symbols that had once been sacred to the dragon clans. They told stories of guardians, of secret paths, and of hiding places for hatchlings during times of danger. Her mind raced as she realized something incredible. The mother had deliberately scattered her young, hiding them across the system to protect them from the fire. She had not failed. The galaxy had misunderstood. Elara knelt beside a small pile of scorched stone and traced the carvings with her fingers. The symbols were complex, but her knowledge of old dragon language allowed her to read enough. The mother dragon had been careful, strategic, and brave. She had sent her hatchlings to live in hiding, knowing that even dragons could be outmatched by forces beyond their control. Her heart raced. If the mother had survived, the hatchlings could still be alive. The galaxy had assumed cowardice or worse, death, but that was wrong. The mother's actions had been deliberate, intelligent, protective. She had outsmarted danger while the galaxy wrote her off. Elara looked at the dragon beside her. Its head was lowered, watching her as she deciphered the carvings. She realized that the trust forming between them was more than instinct. The dragon had chosen to allow her in, to show her the truth. And in doing so, it had given her responsibility. She could not fail. She could not make the same mistake the galaxy had made. She set up her small scanners and began mapping the hidden paths described in the carvings. Each tunnel, each hidden chamber, each secret ledge might hold a hatchling. She recorded every detail, careful not to disturb the fragile ground. The dragon moved beside her, guiding her subtly, nudging debris, shifting its massive body to clear paths. It was teaching her in ways she did not fully understand. Hours passed and the cave seemed alive with possibility. The mother dragon occasionally made low, soft sounds, almost as if she were reminding herself, and Elara, of patience. The galaxy had gotten it wrong, yes. They had believed the hatchlings were lost forever. But Elara now knew better. The truth had been hidden in plain sight, and only careful observation and courage could reveal it. She paused and considered what she had learned. The hatchlings were spread across the system, hidden in places humans and dragons alike might never think to look. The mother had done what no one else could. She had chosen survival, secrecy, and protection over pride. And for that she had been misunderstood. Elara realized that this mistake, the galaxy's assumption, was not just about dragons. It was about underestimating humans. If others had been brave enough, observant enough, they might have discovered the truth sooner. But humans were often dismissed as fragile, unimportant, unworthy of trust. Yet here she was, finding the truth no one else could. The dragon nudged her gently as if sensing her thoughts. Elara smiled faintly. "I understand now," she said. "You did everything to protect them. And everyone else, they got it wrong." The mother dragon shifted closer, allowing her to touch the smooth, ash-darkened scales along her neck. Elara's hand trembled slightly. She could feel the warmth, the power, and the history in every scale. This creature had survived centuries of fear, fire, and neglect. And now it had chosen to let her help. Elara made a decision. She would not wait for anyone else to believe her. She would find the hatchlings herself. The galaxy had made assumptions, yes, but she would prove them wrong. Every hidden chamber, every secret tunnel, every abandoned world that the mother had chosen as refuge would be explored. No hatchling would remain lost if she could help it. The dragon let out a low, soft rumble, almost approvingly. It shifted again, nudging her pack toward the tunnels that led deeper underground. Elara understood. She was not merely a visitor. She was a partner now. A helper. Someone who could bridge the gap between humans and dragons, someone who could correct the mistakes of history. As she prepared to follow the first tunnel, she felt a thrill of fear and excitement. The hatchlings could be anywhere, and she had no guarantee they had survived the harsh worlds they had been hidden in. But she had the mother, alive and guiding her. And that was enough. For now. Outside, the stars blinked faintly, distant and cold, as if watching the events unfold below. The galaxy believed the hatchlings were lost forever. The dragon councils mourned quietly, thinking there was nothing left to do. And yet, here in a forgotten moon, a human had found the truth. Elara took a deep breath. She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders, but it did not crush her. She was human. She had survived, adapted, and persevered before. She could do it again. She looked at the dragon one last time before entering the tunnel. The massive creature lowered its head, brushing her gently with its snout. Trust had been given and trust must be honored. Elara stepped forward into the darkness, carrying hope, courage, and the determination to find what the galaxy had thought was gone forever. The silence of the ruins pressed around her, but it was not empty. It was filled with possibility. And for the first time, the truth had a chance to be told. Elara had spent days exploring the hidden tunnels beneath the ruins. The mother dragon followed her every step, guiding her silently, nudging debris aside, and warning her with subtle movements whenever the ground shifted or weakened. The tunnels were dangerous, narrow in places and filled with old rocks and ash. She had to move carefully, but she did not hesitate. Fear had no place in her mind. She paused at a wide cavern, the walls etched with symbols like the ones she had seen before. The mother dragon lowered her head, and Elara understood. This place was important. It had been a hiding spot for one of the hatchlings. She knelt to scan the area, using her small tools to check for life. A faint heartbeat answered her, weak but steady. Her heart leapt. One had survived. One small dragon had made it through whatever danger had scattered the others. She whispered, "You are not alone. I will help you." The mother dragon let out a low rumble, almost like a sigh of relief. The bond between human and dragon had deepened. Trust was no longer fragile, it was growing strong. Elara began clearing a safe path for the hatchling. She moved rocks carefully, patched broken ledges with metal she carried, and offered water from her pack. The small dragon emerged slowly, shimmering bronze and gold, its scales dull from ash but alive and alert. It trembled, unsure at first, then stepped toward Elara. She reached out, letting it sniff her hand, and it allowed her to touch it. Suddenly, alarms sounded from her scanner. Ships had arrived above. Humans. Not explorers or scavengers, but something different. Rescue ships, shielded and silent, hovering over the ruins. They had tracked her signal. The galaxy had assumed dragons were lost, but humans had chosen to stand between danger and what was precious. The mother dragon rose, enormous and powerful, her wings stretching in the narrow cavern. Elara felt the ground tremble beneath her, but she did not move. She had expected fear. She had not expected awe. The ships above were not armed for attack. Their intent was clear. They were here to protect, to assist, to make sure neither the mother nor the hatchling could be harmed. Elara guided the hatchling toward the cavern exit while the mother dragon followed silently. The human ships hovered close, using shields and medical drones to stabilize loose rocks and reinforce weak ledges. Humans worked in coordination with dragons, something that had not happened in centuries. Other species watched from afar, confused and wary. Humans, who had always been underestimated, were now the guardians. Elara glanced at the mother dragon. Its eyes met hers. There was no doubt, the dragon understood the human's choice. They were not fighting for power, not claiming ownership, not demanding tribute. They were standing in the way of loss. They were protecting life because it was the right thing to do. The hatchling stepped carefully onto solid ground. Its small wings trembled as it tested the air, but it was alive. Its mother watched, every muscle tensed, ready to defend if needed. But the humans above did nothing aggressive. They simply watched, assisted, and respected. Elara felt a swell of pride. She had discovered what the galaxy had missed. Survival was not about might or status, it was about choice. Humans could stand in the way of danger, even when no one asked them to, even when the galaxy doubted them. They could protect what was fragile, forgotten, or misunderstood. The mother dragon rumbled low and powerful, a sound that resonated through the cavern. Elara did not flinch. She understood it was gratitude, recognition, and trust. The dragon had survived centuries of doubt, fear, and solitude. Now humans had chosen to stand between it and harm. They had chosen to protect. Elara turned to the hatchling. It was small, fragile, but brave. It had survived because its mother had hidden it, and now because humans had come to shield them both. She held out her hand and the hatchling stepped toward her. She smiled faintly, her voice calm and steady. "You are safe. You are not alone. We will protect you." Above, the human ships began deploying protective shields over the entire area. Drones carried supplies, patched weak ledges, and reinforced the cavern walls. Elara watched as humans worked alongside dragons in a way the galaxy had never seen before. There were no weapons, no threats, only support, care, and determination. The mother dragon stepped closer to Elara, brushing against her gently. The gesture was deliberate and full of meaning. She had chosen to trust. She had chosen to allow humans into her world. And the humans had chosen to respect that trust, to stand between her and any danger, even if no one else believed the dragon still existed. Elara led the hatchling to the open air of the ruins. The small dragon looked up at the stars, blinking in the weak light of the moons above. It let out a soft cry, and the mother responded instantly, her wings unfurling to shield the young one. Elara stood beside them, feeling the bond of protection, courage, and understanding that had formed between species. The galaxy might have thought the hatchlings were lost forever. Dragon councils might have mourned quietly, assuming no help would come. But here humans had chosen differently. They had chosen to stand between danger and life. They had chosen to protect what others had given up on. And in doing so, they had earned a place in dragon history, not through fear or power but through courage and choice. Elara took a deep breath, looking at the mother dragon and her hatchling. She knew this was only the beginning. There were more young dragons scattered across the galaxy, waiting for someone brave enough to find them. Someone willing to stand between fear and hope. And for the first time, humans were not just observers in dragon history. They were guardians. They were protectors. They had chosen to stand between loss and survival, between despair and hope. And that choice would change the future of both dragons and humans forever. Elara stood at the edge of the cavern, her eyes on the mother dragon and the hatchling she had just helped to safety. The stars above blinked faintly, distant and cold, yet somehow alive with possibility. The galaxy had believed the hatchlings were gone forever. The dragons had mourned silently. But here, in the quiet ruins of a forgotten moon, the future was breathing. Alive. The mother dragon stretched her massive wings, brushing the air softly. The hatchling followed, small and trembling at first, but growing stronger with every careful step. The bond between them was unbroken. The mother had survived, the hatchlings had survived, and now humans had proven themselves as allies, as protectors, as guardians of life. Elara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. She had found the mother, gained her trust, and reunited at least one of the hatchlings. But she knew the others were still out there, scattered across the galaxy. Her work was not finished. Not yet. Above, the human ships hovered quietly, their shields extending over the ruins like protective wings. Drones carried supplies, reinforced weak ledges, and sent data back to human scientists and strategists. No other species had thought to act. No one else had understood the value of life in this forgotten corner of the galaxy. But humans had chosen differently. They had stood between danger and the fragile, between loss and hope. And that choice would not be forgotten. The mother dragon rumbled, a sound full of gratitude and recognition. She lowered her massive head toward Elara, brushing her gently with a scale-strewn snout. The gesture was deliberate. Trust had been given. And now she wanted the human to help the rest of her young. Elara nodded, understanding. "I will find them," she whispered. "All of them. No one is lost. Not anymore. The mother dragon's eyes glimmered with something almost like relief. She had waited centuries for help. Now she had found it in a human who did not run, who did not falter, who chose to stand between danger and life. The hatchling chirped softly and moved toward the mother. Its wings trembled as it flapped, testing the air. The mother nudged it forward, encouraging the small dragon to rise, to survive, to grow. Elara watched, smiling faintly. She had witnessed courage before, in humans, in explorers, in survivors. But the courage of dragons was different, ancient, proud, and relentless. And now it was matched by human choice. Over the next few days, the human team worked carefully to map safe paths across the ruins. They scanned for hidden chambers, for traces of the other hatchlings, for signs that life had endured where everyone had assumed death. The mother dragon guided them, subtly moving rubble, nudging weak walls, and signaling where they should look. Communication between species had never been this clear, this purposeful. Elara felt a sense of awe. The galaxy had made mistakes. It had assumed dragons were weak, that hatchlings were lost, that humans were insignificant. But here all three truths were proven wrong. Dragons had survived. Hatchlings were alive. Humans could protect what others could not. And the future, fragile as it was, had a chance to thrive. One by one, the hatchlings emerged from their hiding places. Some were timid, some bold, some injured, but all were alive. The mother roared softly, a sound full of power, pride, and relief. She circled them, checking each one, ensuring they were safe. Elara knelt beside the youngest, offering water and a gentle touch. The hatchling blinked at her, small eyes curious and trusting. The human ships hovered silently, their shields extended to cover the reunion. No one dared interfere. The galaxy watched from afar, astonished. Humans, who had always been underestimated, were now protectors of the rarest, most ancient life in the stars. Their courage, their choice to act, had rewritten history. Elara looked at the mother dragon and her children, all alive and breathing, all safe for now. She realized something powerful. The galaxy would not forget this moment. Dragons would remember. Humans would remember. And those hatchlings, once lost and scattered, would carry the story forward. They would remember who had saved them. They would remember who had chosen to stand between danger and life. The mother dragon lowered her head and allowed each hatchling to step toward Elara. One brushed her cheek gently, small wings flapping, trust given without hesitation. Another hopped forward, chirping softly. And the smallest nestled at her feet, trembling but safe. The bond between human and dragons was complete, forged by courage, trust, and the choice to protect life against all odds. Elara felt a swell of pride. Humans had always been underestimated. Others had assumed fear would define them, weakness would hold them back. But here, in a forgotten corner of the galaxy, humans had proven their value. Not through weapons, not through conquest, not through power, but through choice. Through courage. Through standing between what could be lost and what could survive. The mother dragon roared, not in anger but in triumph. Her hatchlings responded, chirping and flapping, filling the ruins with life and sound. Elara watched, her heart full. She had discovered something ancient and powerful, something the galaxy had missed for centuries. Survival was not only about strength but about choice. And humans had chosen wisely. As the first light of the distant star reached the ruins, Elara knew the story was only beginning. The hatchlings would grow. They would explore the galaxy strong and brave. The mother dragon would guide them, and humans would continue to protect them, bridging worlds that had long been separated. The galaxy would remember this. History would change. And for the first time in centuries, dragons, hatchlings, and humans stood together, alive and united, facing a future that had survived against all odds. The fire that had once destroyed had not ended the story. It had only made survival more meaningful. Elara smiled faintly, looking at the mother dragon and her young. "We did it," she whispered. "The future is here. And we will make sure it lasts." The dragons roared, the hatchlings chirped, and the humans above hummed quietly, their shields glowing softly. Life had survived. Trust had survived. Courage had survived. And in the galaxy, a new chapter had begun.